everyone, it's John from What Up, and welcome back to another video. And today we're talking the greenlighting of Season 4 of Sony and Amazon's Wheel of Time show. Yes, I do have some insider information on that I'm going to share with you folks today. Now, if you're new to the channel, you don't know what we do here. We cover Wheel of Time show news, pretty much anything and everything about the show, books, merchandise, anything else that's out there that's Wheel of Time related. I talk about that here on the channel, whether it be official stuff, rumors, leaks, you name it, we cover it here. Nothing is too big or too small when it comes to the Wheel of Time to talk about. If you like that sort of thing, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Of course, click that like button. Share this around social media. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your dog, tell your veterinarian. It doesn't really matter. Tell some people about What Up. I'm terrible at advertising the channel, but you folks are really good at it. So please help out with that. You've been doing a great job so far. Now, like I said, this is some insider information. I was basically, I wouldn't say I was given this information. I asked. I bugged a bunch of people about this. I got some information, and once I got that information, I was able to confirm it with at least 3 other people that are close to production. So it's one of those things. This is a source close to production that told me this. I was able to confirm it with other people, but I have no hard proof, no hard evidence of this. So take this with a grain of salt. It is not official. It is not coming from Amazon or Sony. It in no way, shape, or form kind of reflects the official stance of either of the studios. We'll label this as rumor, but a highly believable rumor because I was able to confirm it from a few different people. In fact, I hope, folks, what I've heard changes. So this is one of those instances where I hope that they come right out tomorrow and they go, John, you're an idiot. This is what's really happening. I don't think that's the case, but I really, really hope for that. So we're going to talk about that inside information first. Then we're going to move on to comparing numbers for the shows. So I want to talk about 3 of the big fantasy shows out there right now. Not the 3 biggest, not the 3 only fantasy shows, but the ones I can get numbers for. So the Wheel of Time, House of the Dragon, and Rings of Power. We'll talk about numbers, viewership, even the number of people who torrented the episodes, budgets and advertising budgets for each one of them, because they vary wildly, and it, in my opinion, at least reflects what we're seeing as far as numbers go for viewership. We'll talk about that the second half of the video. The first half will be the insider scoop that I got. Now, normally I give a spoiler warning at this point in the video because I would ruin parts of the books of the show, but we're not talking about the books of the show specifically, so no plot points, no character arcs, no things from the show or books. So if you haven't read the books or watched the show or haven't paid too closely attention to either one of those, I'm not going to ruin anything from that. It's just more the meta inside kind of business side of the house I'm talking about today, so there's that. All right, so first off, you're probably asking yourself, John, why is there a Sony Pictures Television logo up in the screen next to your head? I thought this was a Prime Video show. It's because both companies are responsible for the show. You'll notice at the beginning of every single video, I say Prime, Sony and Prime's, or Sony and Amazon's Wheel of Time show. And I say that on purpose because both companies are responsible for the show. So iWalt Productions is the company that holds the rights to Wheel of Time. They're the ones that ultimately hammered out the deals and got the show made. But Sony and Amazon are both completely involved in that. They have different aspects of the contracts between both companies. They are responsible for different aspects of the show. I couldn't tell you, couldn't lay out paper and say Sony does this and Amazon does this. I don't know that, but I do know that both companies do a lot of different things for the show, and in some cases both companies do the same things for the show, just in concert with one another. So the reason I'm saying this is if you have complaints or praise about the show and you're tagging just Prime or just Amazon, you're missing half the people. You should also be tagging Sony Pictures Television in all of your social media posts, because then you're getting the full picture of everyone involved in the show and everyone who actually makes decisions on this stuff, including the executives. So if you have complaints like episodes too short, not enough episodes, 2 years between seasons, that's garbage. Or the marketing has been abysmal. What's wrong with you folks? Tag both companies. If you have praise, the writing was amazing, the casting was great, the sets looked amazing, the costumes were beautiful, the dialogue was immaculate, whatever you super loved about the show, tag both companies as well. I'm sure they both want to hear praise more than they want to hear complaints, but make sure you're tagging everyone. And that brings us to the insider information. The reason I said that first is because if you folks want to tag somebody in this, tag both companies when you're talking about this later on. I will preface this by saying that this is a rumor. This is something I was told by someone close to production that should know, and that I independently confirmed afterwards with multiple other people close to production, without them knowing I was talking to other people. So It's as close to confirmed as I can get without saying it's confirmed. I don't have any hard evidence, like I do with a lot of my castings or other things that come out. This is a rumor that I was able to confirm multiple times by people that should know, if that makes any sense. So take this with a grain of salt, and I am really hoping this whole video is complete nonsense, and I get told tomorrow Sony and Amazon said, nope, that's not right. John's wrong. This is the way it is. That's what I'm hoping. I really hope for that to happen. All right, so what I was told is that season 4 is not likely going to be greenlit until after season 3 airs, and that it likely will not be greenlit unless season 3 exceeds their expectations. And what that means is raw viewership numbers and completion rates are around the same as what you saw for the premiere of the show. So between season 1 and season 2, there was a drop in viewership. And we're talking in the 6 weeks, the first 6 weeks the show was live. Because when season 1 came out, there was a huge spike. It broke all kinds of records, and it stayed really high in Amazon's numbers. It was number 1 in countries all over the world for a very long time. It did very, very well. Season 2 came out. It didn't really have that massive spike that season 1 did. It did respectably well, and for the time it was out, it still stayed in the top 5 at Amazon and was number 1 in a lot of different cases on Amazon in countries all over the world. And it was within the top 5 popular shows at the time of all streaming services, which we'll talk about the numbers in the second half of the channel. So it did very well, but the viewership numbers were less. They totally were less than season 1. So they're looking more for season 1 viewership numbers for season 3, and if they see that and they see it's performing well and they're happy with that, then they'll greenlight season 4. What I will say about this is we're still very early on. Season 3 just finished filming a few months ago. In fact, I think Sarah Nakamura said it on Twitter or X the other day that people were concerned about it, and she was like, "No, listen. It's only been a couple of months since filming ended. Don't worry about that. This stuff can take some time." And in fact, I think it was 6 months after filming was ended for season 1 before we heard much about season 2. So we're still early on. So there's lots of time for this to change. There's lots of time for other people to make conversation or them to realize certain things or to change their minds, or maybe since I got the information it's changed and they're just waiting to release it. I don't know. What I can tell you for sure is they are very hard and set on that 2 year between seasons, which in my opinion really hurts the show badly. I think it's a terrible idea. It can be out quicker. I know that. They are fully done of post-production months and months ahead of release. They were for season 2, and they are on track for that for season 3. I know that for sure. And it's mostly because of Rings of Power and that artificial gap that they're creating between the two of them. So Wheel of Time doesn't take away from viewership numbers for Rings of Power, which we're going to talk about here in a second. Rings of Power ain't doing so hot, and they, in my opinion, are blowing a ton of money on something that isn't doing as well, at least per value, as Wheel of Time is. But again, that's the second half of the video. So what can we do as a fandom? Well, here's the thing. We love the show. Watch the show. Keep watching it over and over again on repeat. Tell people about it. Word of mouth. If Amazon and Sony won't market the show, which they're not, their marketing numbers are absolutely abysmal, at least from what I am aware of, then we need to do it as a fandom. If we really love the show, we have to really pull up our socks and do what the fandom did for The Expanse. So remember when The Expanse was canceled at Sci-Fi and that fandom went up in arms and just kind of flipped out? Amazon picked it up, finished it, and it was an excellent show, and it did very well. I'm not saying Wheel of Time is going to be canceled. I'm not saying season 4 won't be greenlit. There's a high probability it likely will be from what I'm hearing about season 3. It is absolutely just bonkers amazing, and it's going to blow season 1 and season 2 completely out of the water as far as looks, story, and in a lot of cases keeping pace with what's going on in the books, which is a big thing. There's some big events that happen in the books that we are going to see on screen for season 3. So I think it's going to do really well. But the problem with that is you can have the best show in the world. If you're not pushing the marketing budget behind it, if you're not telling people it's coming out, there are a lot of people, and I am one of those people, that when a show drops, I watch a show, I really love it, and then 2 years passes, and the next season comes out, I don't see the marketing, I don't hear about it, so I don't watch it right away. I may watch it much later, or I may forget about it completely, or just go, it's been 2 years, I don't remember what's going on, I'd have to rewatch. I'm not going to do that. That is most of your casual viewers. That is a big time gap, especially for millennials and whatnot, because we grew up on seasonal TV where you had 22, 26, 30 plus episodes a season, even in big hour-long dramas and fantasy shows. And you took a break for 3 or 4 months for summer, and then you jumped right back into it all over again. And that is what we expect. Attention spans of the world are short, and they're getting shorter. If you have a big gap in between, people are going to forget about it, or they're going to be lazy about it and go, it's not worth my time. I'm not going to bother. There's another new show one I want to watch. And that is sadly the case for a lot of shows that are really, really great, that do really well, that get canceled at Netflix, at Amazon, on Disney. And mostly, in my opinion, it's probably due to mismanagement, which I don't want to see. Speaking of mismanagement, now we're going to jump into all the numbers and stuff. So before we do that, let me know in the comments down below how many of you are excited about Season 3. It's coming out next year, late next year, mid next year, second quarter next year. I've heard second quarter, I've heard third quarter, I've heard fourth quarter for next year. So I couldn't tell you. I don't really know. Are you excited for that? And are you excited to see what we should see on the screen during Season 3? And no spoilers here, but you folks know The Shadow Rising. You folks know The Fires of Heaven. You know those books. You know what we should see on screen next season. Are you excited for that? Let me know in the comments down below. All right, let's jump into talking about numbers in the less exciting part of the video. For the next section of the video, I got numbers from a bunch of different places. TVstats.com, Business Insider, Collider, Screen Rant, a few other publications like Variety and Deadline. They all released information on this. But these graphs specifically come from TVstats.com, and what they are is they are a snapshot of 30 days from the release of the season. So the day the season released of each of these shows, up to 30 days later. And we're doing Wheel of Time, Lord of the Rings, and House of the Dragon. So it's Season 2 for the Wheel of Time, Season 1 for Lord of the Rings, because that's all they have, and Season 2 for House of the Dragon. We're going to look at these graphs first, more of a comparison to how they're doing against one another rather than raw numbers, and then we're going to talk about budgets and marketing afterwards, and you're going to see a huge difference in between the budgets and marketing for these shows. So, popularity rank. Like I said, this is against all streaming services, all other shows at the time it was released. So when Season 2 dropped, up to 30 days later, Wheel of Time sat consistently between 4 and 10 of all TV shows, which is, in my opinion, fantastic. It did really well. It wasn't a smash, drop-down, drag-out hit where it was well above everyone else like House of the Dragon was, but that's a really good release. Between 4 and 10, I'll take that. I think anyone would consider that a win. It didn't come out at like 50th or 100 or 600. It did really well. Rings of Power did slightly better. You're looking at some days it hit number 1, but not very often. Mostly it sat between 2 and 5, which is still good, but really not that much better than the Wheel of Time. Slightly better, but not a whole lot better. House of the Dragon, runaway winner here. It stayed at number 1 almost consistently, except in between where the episodes dropped. It would dip a little bit, but when the episodes come out, you see those big spikes there. It was back to number 1 immediately. House of the Dragon, clear winner in popularity amongst all TV shows within the 30 days of its release. Next, we have active torrenters. A lot of websites don't take into account torrenters because they only want to look at official numbers. Torrenting is a big thing. It's a big business right now, mainly because it's free. And a lot of people don't have a ton of money. So many people out there torrent shows. I, for one, don't condone it because it does take away money from the people that are working on the show. I'm not talking about the big companies. I'm talking about the actual people on the ground working on the show. It does take money from their mouths, so to speak. However, just because I don't condone something doesn't mean it doesn't happen. It certainly does. So we're looking at those numbers too. Wheel of Time, torrents average about 9,000 a day for the 30 days it was out. Lord of the Rings was much more than that. You're looking at between 15 and 25,000 a day. So a clear winner there. But then House of the Dragon just crushes both of those. Their numbers combined and then add a bunch is what you're looking at for House of the Dragon. You're looking at upwards of 50,000 plus per day in some cases. So House of the Dragon, again, clear winner. Do you see a trend here? House of the Dragon's coming in number 1 for everything so far. Way behind it is Rings of Power, and then slightly behind Rings of Power is Wheel of Time. And then we have our online engagement. Again, this is a really important metric when it comes to fandoms. This is how much the fandoms engage online on all social media platforms for the show. So Wheel of Time and Rings of Power, you could see direct spikes in the Rings of Power, and that was when they put really big marketing pushes online for the show in between. But Wheel of Time, Again, slightly behind Rings of Power, almost on a daily basis for the 30 days it was released, but not really a whole lot behind it. You're talking just a few points behind it. But House of the Dragon, again, you could add Wheel of Time and Rings of Power numbers together, and you're not even getting half of the online engagement of House of the Dragon. It's a crazy clear winner in all these cases. So why? Why do you ask? Is it because of the shows? Is House of the Dragon really that much better than Rings of Power and Wheel of Time? Is it the fandoms are smaller? Is the fandom for Game of Thrones bigger? There's a ton of things that go in this. I can't really speak to which show is better. It's a personal opinion. I personally think out of these three shows, Wheel of Time was better. I did not like Rings of Power at all. I did the after show and Fellowship of the Fans, and I roasted it every single episode. Probably not being called back this year, but I'm not I'm not a Lord of the Rings fan. I've seen the movies years ago. I read the book in high school. That was about it. I didn't understand all of the lore behind it or what things should have happened. I was looking at it just as a show, not as a fan, and it was not a good show in my opinion. House of the Dragon, again, it was an okay show. It was all right. I didn't truly, really enjoy it. I love character-based shows too, but it wasn't really my cup of tea. Wheel of Time, again, probably because I'm a super fan. That might be why I think it's the better show between the three of them, but again, that's opinion-based. But what we can look at, we can look at numbers. And I got my numbers here. I'm going to set them up in front of me because I don't remember these things. I'm terrible at it. So, season 2 of the Wheel of Time, and these are average numbers. These are not official numbers released by the companies themselves. WatSeries.com reported that season 2 of the Wheel of Time cost $124.1 million for the season, around $15.5 million per episode. Okay? Totally respectable. That's a lot of money for a fantasy show. Above that was House of the Dragon. House of the Dragon was $200 million for season 2. $200 million is the budget. Over $200 million. They didn't report the exact numbers in Business Insider. They just said it was over $200 million. So it was over $25 million per episode. I don't know how much over. So you're already looking at House of the Dragon costing $10 million plus an episode than Wheel of Time. So it has to do at least that much better. And then you have Lord of the Rings. We are not taking into account the rights fees or anything else. The raw cost of season 1 was $462 million, around $57.75 million per episode. So, Lord of the Rings was well under House of the Dragon in every aspect and double or more the cost. Wheel of Time obviously was the lowest budget, but it didn't really do that much worse than Rings of the Power. So, as far as value for money goes, Wheel of Time is knocking it out of the park compared to Rings of Power. Rings of Power cost them a ton of money, and they expected it to do way better than it did, and it really didn't. Wheel of Time did well. It did almost as well as Rings of Power in terms of numbers and popularity and engagement. Not quite there, but it also cost $320 million less a season to produce, which is a big deal. Now we're going to talk about marketing. So I was told the marketing numbers, approximate marketing numbers for season 2 of Wheel of Time. It was less than 25 million. I don't know how accurate or true that is. That was also from a source close production. But it makes about sense because they really spent no money marketing the show. There was almost no marketing on it. It was less marketing than they did for season 1. I think the public numbers are out there as little over $26 million, $27 million, I think is what I read online. So it was less, 25 million. House the Dragon, I have no idea how much the marketing was to that, but they are saying that it was online in excess of $100 million in marketing, which is crazy. That's big budget marketing for House of the Dragon. Again, Business Insider and the other publications online couldn't give exact numbers because a lot of these companies keep the proprietary numbers, but they were reporting in excess of $100 million for marketing for House of the Dragon. And it shows. I mean, they spent a lot of money marketing the show, and the show did absolutely amazing. It was also a good show. I mean, again, not my cup of tea, but it was a good show. I will admit that. Um, but again, neither one of them held a candle to Rings of Power marketing. Um, it's been reported that the marketing for season one of Rings of Power was in excess of $250 million. That's crazy. That's a ton of money. So not only did Amazon put up 460 million plus for season to make it, the marketing was over 200 million, and then the rights cost them 250 million as well. So that's where you're seeing that $1 billion Lord of the Rings of Power number come from online, is those three numbers added together. Um, so you're looking at 150 million for the Wheel of Time total versus a billion, and the numbers are so close as to almost not matter when it comes to percentages of engagement, uh, whether it's the biggest show or not at the time, popularity. Wheel of Time's making the money, way more money than Rings of Power's making them. So my question to Amazon is this. My question to Sony is this. When are you going to realize that Wheel of Time is actually doing better than your flagship fantasy property, at least in percentage wise, and kind of maybe put some effort into the marketing, push the push behind it. So as a fandom, what can we do? Well, there's a couple things we can do. Hopefully they'll come out tomorrow and let's say they're greenlighting season 4. Hopefully they'll come out and they'll start actually marketing the show tomorrow. I don't think it's likely, but I think as a fandom, what we can do is we can start engaging with the companies. We can start actively tagging them in things. And there are a few people on X that do it daily, have been doing it for hundreds of days, asking for more episodes, longer run times. Season 4 to be greenlit, asking for information on season 3, asking them to actually start engaging and doing more. Now, one thing that Wheel of Time is really, really good at is engaging with the very, very few core fandom that are on X. They are really good at that. They do a great job at that. Whoever runs the Twiiter of Chaos account is phenomenal. They're a really great social media manager, and they keep that up. However, that's not enough. You need to start marketing to people who don't read the books, who don't watch the show, who don't know anything about it. You also need to start marketing to the people who read the books and have never heard of the show. I meet those people every single day. They don't see anything about this anywhere. To be able to pull in the blockbuster numbers that you're looking at, you kind of have to pay a blockbuster marketing fee. They've been relying on viral marketing at this point from the fandom, and the fandom is really good at it because they're very passionate and they love the Wheel of Time, and they want to have that experience of keeping the show alive. So they're very, very good at it, and they push it. That's not enough, not in most cases anyway. The company really has to start stepping up. I think the companies rather have to really start stepping up and deciding whether or not they want to push Wheel of Time as a premier fantasy show, or if they're okay with it just kind of doing well, which it's been doing. It's been doing very well, but it's not that blockbuster they're looking for because no one hears about it. No one really knows about it. But to be totally fair, and I'm going to say this out of fairness, Rings of Power is an aberration when it comes to marketing for Amazon and Sony, or for Amazon rather. Rings of Power is one of those things that was marketed extensively and done really well. Amazon does not normally market its shows very well. Even the big ones like Reacher and The Boys, they don't get any marketing love. I don't know if it's because they don't know how or if it's because they just don't see the value in it. But Amazon is poor at marketing their shows to outside of their core audiences. So this isn't they're doing bad for the Wheel of Time for the sake of the Wheel of Time. I think they're just bad at it in general. And Rings of Power is an aberration when it comes to that. So there's that. So let me know in the comments down below what you folks think. I am, for one, hoping for a green light for season 4 sooner rather than later. I am hoping for casting announcements. I am hoping for engagement from the fandom. I'm hoping for all kinds of things from them. And like I said, tag both Sony Pictures and Amazon in everything you have on social media. It can only help. Thank you so much for sticking with us here to the very end. Here's to many more.